And I heard you say Russ is joining, so I just want to say hi to everyone. I only got to talk with Ken and Karen a little bit, but we'll get started. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to join on this Monday evening and in relatively short notice too. So much appreciated. I know you guys are probably eager to learn about the current design iteration for the Lena Street Improvements Project. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Preston. I serve as the town manager for Ridgeway. Also joining us is Joanne and Ron. They're with Consolidated Consulting Services, and they're the town's engineering consultant. They have been for a long time. Before I turn it over to them, it's really their show. I'll say that I'm aware of a good part of the history of this project and how most, if not all of you, took part in the discussions and conversations that took place on this project back in, I want to say 2019 or so. The whole point of this evening, of this informational session, is to circle around on all those past discussions, really in an effort to move this forward in as positive way as possible. Joanne and Ron are gonna, again, I'll turn it over to them in a second. They're gonna present the design, including the various property challenges, and they're also seeking some information from you all so that the design can be finalized. I'll kind of go re-review what was in the letter we sent out last week. The town's looking to get the design finalized so we can keep working with the Lena Street Commons developer, who has a substantial financial role in this project, to move forward to the next step of a competitive sealed bid process. So all that to say, the town wants to continue doing its due diligence to keep this moving forward. And again, we really appreciate you all helping us do that by meeting with us tonight. I kind of mentioned this already, and you probably saw it, but we are recording this meeting so that we can easily share the video with the folks who weren't able to join us tonight. I hope everyone's okay with that. Just want to be clear and disclose that. So with that, I think I covered everything I was supposed to. I'm going to turn it over to Joanne and Ron, and they will be doing some screen sharing so that you all can see what they're working with and get a depiction of the design. So I hope all that makes sense. Joanne, Ron?
Full screen when we do the screen sharing.
And the big
Joining us this evening, Preston covered a lot of what I was going to mention about the schedule. We're hoping to advertise the project this month.
Hey, Joanne, I don't know if anyone else is having trouble, but I'm having a lot of hard time hearing you.
Yes, break it up quite a bit.
We're hoping to be able to bid the project like the end of month or the first part of February, be able to open bids the end of February, and give the council a recommendation for award at their March meeting. And at this point, I'd let Ron kind of walk you through both the typical drawing and the longitudinal view of the project.
Okay, this is kind of an overview of the what the cross section will be. The right of way is total width is 80 feet. So down the center, we're going to put 2 travel lanes and then 2 diagonal parking zones on either side, and then 5-foot walks on property line or close to property line on the Lena Commons side. The back of the sidewalk will be right against the property line. On your side, on the west side, there'll be a 1-foot setback for the sidewalk. In other words, the back sidewalk will be 1 foot off of the property line into the town right of way. This is kind of a drawing. Well, it's actually the model I work in. And we'll zoom into it down here at the bottom. It's Charles Street at the south. Frederick is here. And Otto is towards the north. So it'll be basically 2 blocks. Now, if we zoom in here,
Hey, this is Preston. Let me interrupt real quick. Can everyone see the screen first of all? Let's see some nodding heads if that's true. And then Ron, I think you really need to speak up. We're having a hard time hearing you.
I'll get right in front of the mic, I hope, if that helps. This is Charles Street. We're going to replicate what we've done downtown with the project and put bulb outs on all ends of the blocks with the handicapped ADA ramps that approach from either side. This corner over here is the Lena Street Commons. This is the vacant lot that's owned by Robinson. And this little line here is the existing sidewalk, this little gray line. And that sidewalk will come out, and this will be the new sidewalk that's lined up with the ADA ramps. At each end of the westerly block, at Otto and at Charles, we will have 2 handicap parking stalls. So for each of those, there will be a ramp that allows people to get out of the handicap ramp and get up onto the sidewalk. Diagonal parking continues down the street. On the other side, on Lena Street Commons, the bulb out goes a little bit further. This is to allow a car that's parked in this stall to back out and not back out into the crosswalk area. That's why the bulb outs on this side are longer than they are on this side, is to have a safe area for somebody that's using this parking stall to back out and not hit pedestrians. On Robinson's property, there are 2 trees. They're pretty, not beautiful trees, but they are trees. Unfortunately, they're right in the sidewalk area, and if we put the sidewalk in there, the roots will lift the sidewalk. So we'll probably have to remove those 2 trees and something else with that. Once we get past that, starting on Russ's place, there's a large tree, a pine tree, and another 2 small trees, all right up against the fence, but they're far enough back that they won't need anything that we need to deal with. Same way with the Miller property, there's a large tree and a smaller one on either side of the walk that goes into the front door. The larger tree and the smaller tree are both out of the way enough, they won't be impacted by the project. Once we get to Lena Street, or Frederick Street, we get to the Spear property. I'll zoom in just a little bit here. This is the front sidewalk of the Spear property where it comes out into the right of way, about 2 feet. And there's 2 bushes on either side of their entry sidewalk that'll have to be trimmed back significantly or removed to accommodate the sidewalk installation. Go further north, this is the Schoonover property, and there's no vegetation there. He does have some parking. It's where he parks the Model A, is right in there, and then there's on the north end he has a shed, and he does use a parking stall in here. But the fence is close enough to the back of the sidewalk that it doesn't allow sufficient distance that if we leave that as a parking stall, that he can drive in and park completely off of the street on his property without partially parking on the sidewalk. Is that a little better? A little closer?
Little, not much.
Why don't we take a minute and go back into your control room?
Joanne, I don't think we caught what you had said right there. I think you guys need to get much closer to the microphone or just project.
Hmm?
Find the thing that we can-
I don't know who it is.
If they can blow that screen up too, so it's bigger, that would be great. That whole window size
That
opened
screen doesn't have anything on it.
up. Well, the one behind that one.
Yeah.
Maybe what we should do is call.
Joanne, Ron, are y'all still there?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're trying to make it the microphone louder. We're looking for the thing in control panel.
Yeah, and as an alternative, you can always dial in too and maybe use audio that way.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah.
Well, how are you, Sherry? Oh, we're sitting here waiting. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
was
there you
muted.
are.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Good.
I'm good, thanks.
You can still see out your front window now?
Little bit. Well,
Little
not
bit?
for long now.
Hey, everyone, thanks for your patience. Just give us a sec while we figure this out.
Does this work better?
I think so. That was pretty loud, but I encourage you guys to just be right up on that speaker.
We're still looking at the gray box.
Control
panel.
Speaking.
What, do you got a mouse? Here one.
Back wrap.
You gotta
Well,
get-
I've got mine muted. As you've got that phone going, you probably want to
Going
mute
into
brother.
everybody else. I think Preston has to mute, or whoever you're talking, everybody.
So
has to
Joanne,
mute
Ron,
except-
I think what you're gonna wanna do is turn the volume on your computer all the way down now that you're on the phone.
It's muted. It's-
And we're looking at a gray box on the screen. I don't know if you're trying to say again.
Does that work?
There you go.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, here we are. All right, sorry about that.
Now, can you blow up that whole pane there you've got, enlarge it? Use that little green button.
That give you any more?
That's probably all we're gonna get, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we went by, did we let's see, we need to go back to the Spear property? Or the
They're not
Schoonover?
on here, but
Okay,
you're gonna have to remove some
Sherry.
bushes or something out in front of their house.
okay. Well, we'll go by Schoonovers. We don't, one of the things to have a driveway cut is that we need sufficient distance behind the back of the sidewalk and into the property that somebody can park a vehicle without the back end of the vehicle sticking back over the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is free for pedestrian travel. So when we laid out where driveway cuts go, one of the things we looked at was, is there sufficient distance behind the sidewalk that a car can actually park? The Wheelock property has a steel fence out in front of it, which is about 4 foot out into the right of way. And that fence will have to be moved back to property line, but they have a driveway that goes back to the house that has adequate parking. So we provided for them to have a driveway access cut that crosses the sidewalk to get into it. And there's no diagonal parking where that driveway cut is. On-
For Schoonovers, there wasn't enough depth for them. Is that the case?
Yeah, they have a fence somewhere about in here. It was only about 14 feet from the back of the sidewalk to where they could park. Most of the parking they're doing now is actually out into the right of way. On the Bailey property, the driveway is insufficient, so there would be enough area to warrant having a drive-through or a driveway parking and have parking off the street. So that has a curb cut in front of it. It still has some street parking in front of the property, but it does allow for a parking stall for somebody to drive into the parking area on property. And then the Grether property just put a fence at property line, and all of their improvements are on their own property, and so we won't impact that. Again, there'll be an ADA ramp up here at the very north end near Auto, and an ADA ramp that somebody can use to get up onto the sidewalk from the ADA parking. So all of these are diagonal parking in front of Lena Commons. There's 6 or 7 on an ADA parking, diagonal parking there. 2 diagonal parkings in front of Wheelock. 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of Schoonovers. 3 in front of Spear. And down here in front of Miller, there's 4 on-street parking. Meyer has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parking stalls.
We need to talk about that
And
one.
Post has 3 and Robinson has 6. So that's the current design. On Myers and Posts, when we talked out in the field, you said there was some driveways. On Russ's, it was, there's one into that lot that's split off to the north of the property, north of the house. And then this is the property, the lot with the house on it. And there were wooden gates here next to the tree, in between the walk gate and the pine tree. And so I put in, if that goes back far enough that there could be parking on private property, I kind of drew in what a ramp would be. To make that work, we would have to move the curb out away from the sidewalk. We'd leave the sidewalk at property line, but I need more distance to make up the elevation between the flow line and the sidewalk to make the grade. So if we put that driveway cut in, we would have to remove the diagonal parking in this block and put in parallel parking. That's what these lines are, is parallel parking layout. But to have this driveway cut, we'd lose 2 parallel parkings. To have this one, we'd lose another one. So there would be 3 parking stalls of the parallel lost. And then down at posts, we would lose 2 parking stalls for in front of the post property. So this would be about the only one that we could keep, is 1 in front of Myers, 3 in front of Robinson, and 2 in front of Miller's. So
Yeah, let me
our
interject.
on-
Let me interject here, if you can hear me. Yeah, we were never in favor
Okay.
of diagonal parking on our side of the street, because I measured the street and it's no wider than a street there at the library, whatever street that is, going east and west. And that street's barely wide enough when you come around the corner to get, and it's parallel parking on one side and diagonal on the other, and it's barely wide enough to get two large vehicles through there. Yeah, this is the same thing.
The difference, Ken, the difference is that Lena Street is actually an 80-foot right-of-way, and Charles is only 66. Right now, what you see is the roadway is only occupying a pretty small percent of what the town right-of-way is. So technically, there is room for diagonal. One of the directions that, in 2017-18, when we were designing this, was to try to optimize the parking and to mirror what was on the rest of Lena Street. I think if all of you prefer that block be parallel, that would be something we could ask council about. We got a 7th of council that can weigh in. And
Well, just speaking on our part, I'm in favor of parallel parking on our side of the street, because that's what I'm gonna do when I've got trailers and stuff like that to park there. I can't park diagonally.
okay.
Frequently I park a horse trailer out there or a fifth wheel
Ken,
temporarily.
is that bulb out going to affect you for parking that trailer, that bulb out up there on the
Yeah.
north end?
It's in the way.
Well, the bulb out needs to be there to protect the ADA approach ramps and to make the drainage work across the street. The bulb outs are designed to shorten the distance where people cross the street, so that they're only walking across the 2 travel lanes and not across the parking and the travel lanes.
Right.
So that's why we have bulb outs in the project, is to shorten the distance for pedestrians to cross the street.
Yeah,
And
they just make it a
gives
pain in
them
the butt to
safe
get around,
refuge.
to turn left when you got a big trailer or a truck to get around those on the
Well,
street.
we widen these out to 20-foot radiuses and actually put 14 feet between the lip of gutter and the lip of gutter. I did that intentionally just in case somebody did get into this area with a trailer, they can get around the corner. If we tighten these radiuses up on the fillets to 5 foot or 10 foot or something like that, then that would restrict turning and you couldn't get a horse trailer or anything around this corner. But the objects of the bulb outs is to bring the drainage out where it can cross at where the bulb out is on the north side, and then to have the bulb out go out far enough that the pedestrians are only walking across the 2 drive lanes to get across.
Right.
Um,
Well, everybody just uses the street for a sidewalk now, so really wouldn't matter.
Well, that's part of the intent of this too, is to make it so that we have a pedestrian walkway that is not out in the street.
Yeah.
And that, anytime you're putting pedestrian sidewalks and lining them out and making them ADA accessible. The intent is to get people to where they're actually walking on the sidewalk and not using the street.
Yeah. It's just tradition. We've never had them, so
Say it's a,
nobody's ever done it.
it's a locals thing. We walk in
That's a
the
local
street.
thing, yeah.
The visitors always think it's really
It's
cool.
not the Ridgeway Way.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right. I missed something when you were coming by. This is Ken Miller coming by our house on the bushes and the trees. Are they out of the way from your
Yes.
from your sidewalk?
They're far enough back. This is your walk going into the house right
Right.
over here. Maybe I can zoom in just a little bit closer.
Hmm.
This is the big tree to the north of the walk, and this is the smaller tree south of the walk. And, you know, when you look at the center of this, the trunk is probably on the smaller trees, maybe a 2-foot diameter, and that's still close to 3 feet away from the back of the sidewalk. Here's the existing back of sidewalk now, this gray line on this side. So we're moving it back a couple inches right at your walkway.
So is our fence on there too?
Yes, that's this line right here. And it's pretty close to right-of-way line until you get towards the north end. This would be your fence corner. This
Mhm.
line right here is your property line, and this is your fence corner. And this is one of the reasons I moved it. Instead of having the back walk right on property line, I moved it out a foot, is so that we would not be getting into the fences.
Okay, so do I have to move that fence or not?
No,
Okay.
And
That's what
we
I'm
don't
wondering.
either?
It's been there for 80 years.
No.
So.
no. Your Russ's fence, this is the big tree on the south end. This is the property corner in the fence, right in the fence corner. And it goes up. In fact, all your property pins are right about in the fence corner. Here's the one, the new one that was set, split the property. And then here's the one between Russ and Ken's.
Right.
And the fence is inside of that one. So, no, we don't have to move fences. The only thing we've got
The one fence that really protrudes is
the one, yeah, the one fence that really protrudes is wheel locks. And that's that tall metal fence comes out and has a metal gate and then goes back in. And this is about 4 feet that it's sticking out into the right of way.
I have a question about the Spear property, Cherie and Jim. They're not here,
Okay?
but they were talking about having a driveway to the far north of their property where they pull in a vehicle from time to time. Was that taken into account?
Well, I talked with them out in the field. This here is their house.
Mhm.
So they only have about 6 or 7 feet from their house to the back to their, well, about 6 feet from the right-of-way line back to their house. So they wouldn't have enough distance to park a car off of the street.
I see. Okay.
If they used it as a driveway, they'd be parking, you know, the back of the car would be out here in the parking area. They would be crossing the sidewalk and to stop short of the house. So that didn't really give them any availability, you might say, to have a parking, a driveway cut.
I think, you know, what he was more interested in was backing in over there to unload wood, because his wood shed's on the north side of the house. And he didn't want to have to
Yeah,
back across
and-
curbs to do that.
That I don't think we'd have a problem with him backing up over the curb to unload because he stacks his wood right over in here somewhere along this side here. And again, we have to maintain our ADA ramp or bulb out to meet the requirements of the ADA constraints at the intersection.
Can I ask a question? About how much property are you taking from us feet wise? You know, based on how the line is now. I'm Bailey, so I'm up the next property, and I know you're
Well,
talked about.
okay, the Grethers just put in a fence in front of their place,
Yeah,
and they set a pin right here at their property line.
okay,
And so their fence is just basically right on the front right-of-way line
I see.
where it goes north,
Okay.
if that gives you an idea where that's at.
Yes, I can use that.
We're
as a-
just using more of our right of way, not taking any new right of way.
And then the property, just real quick, and then I don't have any more questions, but directly across the street from me, and what's now a vacant lot, is there going to be units going in there as well? Right now, they're using it for storage. Yeah.
Yes. This area right in here, they have 4 units that are going in there.
Are they
They're small commercial units.
1 or 2 story?
One,
1 story, okay.
those are the commercial, that's the A unit.
Okay. These are a single story.
Thank you.
And they have very little plumbing, so they can't do a whole lot. I think there's one 1-inch tap for all 4 units.
Hey, Ron, this is Lance, and we're in the Post property. And
Okay?
it looked like you had the driveway in there for us. I just wanted to confirm that.
Well, that again, the house is right here. That's what this line is here.
Right?
And again, there isn't enough distance between the back of the walk, which is right here, and the fence line. So I drew one in here, but you'd have to do something. What used to be an old carport would have to be opened up so that you could actually park in it. Because there isn't enough distance between the front of what was the carport and the back of the walk.
Right on the sidewalk right now, there's a driveway cut. And the carport, I actually pull in a motorcycle in there. And I could also pull a Jeep in there. I own a Jeep and a motorcycle and would like to have access off the street to pull it in.
There's 18 feet.
So there's a for a
So
Jeep.
if we put that in, if we put one in, then we have to go to parallel parking. We can't make a combination of diagonal and parallel.
Right. So,
So if we put one in, we've got to get rid of all of the diagonal parking and go to parallel.
Let's see.
Russ, do you want to hazard a guess about what that how council would feel about that?
I would have no guess. I know personally how I would feel about it, but I'm not going to speak for
Sure.
council.
Good move.
What everybody else like to see in there, parallel or diagonal?
That good question, Ken. And I think what I'm hearing is you would prefer the parallel. I think I would. I think the Lance and Bobby Joe would. So at least on the southern block, I'm pretty certain we'd all like the parallel.
Yeah.
The one, again, this was guidance from quite a few years ago. Lena Street is the only street in town that has an 80-foot right-of-way. So it's the only one in the downtown area that lends itself to putting in the diagonal parking. Where we've, like Joanne said, on the smaller streets, on the 66-foot right-of-way, we have put in some diagonal. It's awful tight, and they've only put it in on one side.
Right.
So what the direction from council way back when was to try to use this, because we only have, one street in town that's 80-foot wide that would accommodate more parking, was to use that right away for that purpose.
Is it 80-foot wide up there by the True Grit also in the park?
Yes,
Yes, it's 80 foot, the full length,
it's
And
80.
that's-
until we
and that's
get
diagonal
down
parking.
to Chipeta.
That's diagonal parking there off of the highway coming in by the True Grit. That's the most dangerous place
Correct.
in town.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, you come in, people are backing into you all the time.
Well, I think one of the things they didn't do is what we did on these, is where you put the parking right, you use the full side of the street. And part of making the bulb outs not asymmetrical, is so that if somebody does park out, they don't back up into the lane of traffic. So that's a problem they have down there. The other thing is they wanted more sidewalk when they did that project, so they narrowed up the travel lanes to allow for the diagonal parking. And right now we're looking at 5-foot sidewalks in this block, and I think they have 16
in front of the True Grit.
And yeah, so part of that is because in that block, with it being so commercial, they widened the sidewalk, and the only way they could make the wide sidewalks and still have diagonal parking was to narrow up the travel lanes here in the middle, because we're using the travel lanes for part of the distance for people to back out of parking stalls and not get over into the opposite travel lane. And downtown where it's so tight, when people back out, because this distance from here to here in the travel lane is so close, they actually end up driving over into the other travel lane in the wrong way to get out of a parking stall. And that creates a lot of the problems down there.
Yeah.
It's just too busy.
Yeah.
It's just too busy, even though it's one way. The extra width on the sidewalks on both sides and how much traffic there is just too difficult. But I think we're hearing that you want parallel parking on that block, and that we should put the driveway cuts in, is your preferences.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm,
Yep,
I don't need any driveways. I used to have one there, but I don't anymore. No.
okay.
Have y'all talked to Schoonover then? What I was hearing was that they don't get any driveway cut at all.
Well, they would have to modify their property so that there would be enough room off into their property to park a car.
You're saying the house is too,
I think there's what he's saying is there's a fence line on the east side of the property that doesn't allow them a full vehicle between the fence and the sidewalk.
Correct.
I think on the north end of the property though, I think there is a fence, but there may be a gate or something, because there's a truck that sits in front of the house there on that very north end of the property. And I would like to run that by Schoonovers and confirm if they would like to make that a drive or not. And that from your point of view, that would include modifying a fence or gate so that there was ample space to fully pull off of the sidewalk in that drive lane. Is that right?
Right, new share. Let me do a new share and see if I can.
We got your Google
Okay.
map, Google Earth up. So we're seeing that.
Okay. All right, let me drive up the street here, not get everybody seasick.
Good luck.
Look away for a minute.
He's looking like a pretty good driver.
Now, this was in 2012, but the right-of-way line, if I can pan around over here. Well, let me start right here in front of this house. See where my little arrow is the end of their sidewalk. Another 2 foot back of the end of their sidewalk is the right-of-way. So it goes through these logs, through these logs, and there was only like about 12 foot of distance between their fence and here. Now, currently, he has a shed right here where this sign is. There's a tough shed. And then he parks his Model A right in front of the gate. And then when he does park, he parks between where the drainage is on this side, on the left side of the Model A, when I've seen a car there. But the actual right-of-way line is about where this fence angles, right about here. So there isn't, and if you even took that out, then to put enough room for parking, there wouldn't be a front yard. Because the house is relatively close to the front of the house.
Well, I would certainly like to make sure that y'all talk through that with them. They're a little busy right now. In and out of town with health stuff, but
Is there, are we going to be able to get a copy of the black and white 2-block overhead view that you have? Is that something you could share with us?
Yeah.
See if I can share. Are
Well,
we
not,
still on
not
Google
here,
Earth?
but I mean, if you could actually send me an electronic copy.
Yeah, no, the town has electronic copies, but we can send you just that if you like.
Yeah, no, that'd be fine. I'd like to try and, because if I recall correctly, I know that tough shed, but there's a truck on that north side of the property that sits out in front of the house. And so I'm thinking there may actually be a gate or something that they're using, and I just want to clarify with them, because again, they're a little preoccupied with some health issues at the moment. So I would like to ensure we
That's fine, yeah.
clarify that with them.
We'll
And
get
that's
Preston a copy of this, just this drawing, this piece of the drawing, and have him get it over to you, Russ.
awesome. Thank you.
Yep,
What I could probably do is do a drawing of each parcel, in front of each parcel.
do you want that, Ron's talking about maybe just doing a drawing for each of the parcels that you want, just a blow up of their area. So we could do schoonovers, and if somebody else wants one, we could do theirs.
I think it'd be good to have one for the Spears as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
What we could do is I could do a picture of something like that for the Spears. Do a blow up of something like that that would give them enough information to see what it's doing, and then do one of those for each of the lots.
Yeah, I think those are the two that are in question.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing right now.
Okay. Yep, we can do that.
Fantastic.
So beside the fence, our fences will be a potting or a flower bed, then the sidewalk, then the curb, or is it the other way around?
There won't be much room between the fence and the sidewalk, maybe
Okay.
a half a foot at best.
All right,
But there will be room for potting here on the bulb out. And then this is between the sidewalk and the back sidewalk, if there's diagonal parking, is only 2 feet. If we do parallel parking, the distance, distance in there and the back of the walk is 11.5 feet.
So there'll be a pretty decent landscape space there. With if
the
it's
town take care
parallel
of all that
parking.
stuff? In the big bulge out place there and the planters, does the town take care of those, or are we responsible for those?
It's like the snow
we
shoveling,
hadn't-
they'll take care of it.
What's that?
They'll shovel the sidewalks and water the plants.
The plan is to put irrigation
Into the bulb out.
into the bulb outs. And if there's a big landscape space that results from the going to parallel parking, we could look at that. Because of the partnership, I'm not quite sure how, they were pretty picky about how much of the beautification they felt like they should have to share.
Mhm.
And so the budget doesn't have anything for landscaping that space, but it'll be less asphalt. So maybe there'd be enough that on the town side, we could do something.
Well, I
Joanne,
always ask
Ken,
about
I think
that
your
because
question was about who would be responsible for potential landscaping, and that would not be on the individual property owners. Is that what your question was?
that was, yeah, that's part of it, and upkeep.
Right,
That
yeah, that would be the town.
Okay. So I
Okay.
just wondered because
Thank you.
we've lived here almost 46 years. And when we came, there were 300 people in town and we were under water restrictions then. And the town has grown, as you know, considerably since then. And I'm pretty sure we don't have enough water for everybody. So I'm wondering about this.
If we have
Anyway.
diagonal,
That's not your bailiwick.
Yeah, that will be how those get landscaped if they're, if the town's going to do that. I mean, they could be as simple as just root barrier and some gravel,
Right.
weed fabric and cover. Or they could look like downtown.
Right. Well, with the water situation, gravel would be better.
Yeah.
Not as pretty, but it won't take water.
Other requests or questions?
I think I got all mine answered as far as millers go, Karen. We're concerned about schoonovers and spears because they're not here.
Yeah.
Yep. Appreciate that.
It's
Good
a tight
neighbors.
neighborhood.
And then this is gonna start in February?
No, we're hoping to get the project out to bid in late January, early February, just because there's so much money around for infrastructure right now. we want to be sure we can get somebody to bid it. There's way too much work right now. And so we want to get the project bid as early as possible in the year. And then in order to hopefully get more than one bid, we're going to allow the contractor to decide when it fits with his schedule to do the work, as long as they get it done by the November 15th no work deadline in Ridgeway. So I don't know exactly when the construction would be, but we will let you know when we get a schedule from, assuming we get a contractor.
Okay,
Right.
And just to add to that, that was a great summary, Joanne. That the town's desired timeline is contingent on, just to be candid, cooperation from the Lena Street Commons developer. So we're trying to work closely with them to make sure all the pieces are in place for us to move forward in an appropriate fashion. But yeah, hoping to go out to bid sooner rather than later, given how busy everyone is, and trying to get on a contractor's schedule. But rest assured, we will keep you all informed every step of the way as the timeline, further evolves.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
How would we pick up a copy of each individual, everyone's individual property that you said you would do for us?
Sherry, we can email those to you once, I'm just thinking out loud here, Joanne, Ron, help me out, but I think Joanne and Ron can send them my way and I can share them with all of you if that works.
Yeah, that works great.
That would be
Thank you.
great.
Sherry, did you want one of yours as well, or just the Schoonover and Post property?
I
Or
would appreciate
what
I would
was it?
appreciate one myself if that's not too much trouble.
Here. I couldn't, I
think
didn't,
what I was going to do is one for each one,
okay,
regardless.
okay.
And then they can, I'll just make a
Mhm.
drawing of each one and, we'll give that to Preston and he can email it to them.
All right,
And if we have any additional.
we can do that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sherry.
If we have any additional feedback that we want to submit later, is that still would be considered?
I heard you
We'd
ask.
like to have all of the feedback by the 20th if we could, so that we can finalize the drawings to get them out to bid.
Like in 3 days.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
if that doesn't work, I guess let us know, and if we can get most of it, we can kind of keep working. But the more we can have by the weekend, the closer we can get to getting this out to bid by the end of the month.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I don't think I'll have anything else.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah.
well, thanks for meeting with us and letting us know.
Well, thank you all. Really,
You're welcome.
again, really appreciate the time. And it's
The
nice
rest
to
of
see you
neighbors out
all.
on the street.
Yeah, Preston, one of these days, we really want to see your mug up there instead of just
Yeah.
this black screen.
I think you're making that up, Krista.
No,
No one
No, I
want-
think that's why people don't recognize you when you're walking around town, is because we don't.
You don't-
have
Like that.
you don't want people to know who you are, do you? I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's called being strategic.
Trying to keep.
Well,
a low
thanks, everyone.
profile.
Thank you very much. And
y'all.
give us a shout if you have any questions, concerns, what have you. But I think this was really productive and a lot of thoughtful comments and considerations here.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. We just want to keep an eye out for schoonovers and, everyone who's spares. I mean, people that are not available right now because they've all got a lot going on.
Totally, and appreciate that, and good on you all to look out for your neighbors, and sure you will be reaching out to them individually to talk this through.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey,
We'll let them know.
would be good.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Neighbors.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, neighbors.
Bye-bye.